What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be focusing on Black Ops 7 Endgame, how to increase your combat rating as fast as possible, and how to gain a ton of XP as well. Definitely stay tuned. As a reminder, folks, I did beat the entire co-op campaign just a few days ago. If you want to watch a walkthrough of any of the missions, which of course are required for you to complete in order to play Endgame, that playlist is going to be linked down below. I also then made a separate video going over all campaign rewards, and a separate video going over the final boss within Endgame, and the 12 free operator skins that you can also unlock. As a bit of a correction that I wanted to include in this video, it looks like when you click on the operator selection menu, it won't show you characters that you already have slots for. So when I was going through to showcase all of the free skins, I didn't showcase David Mason, nor did I show 50/50 or even Samuels. I think it still would be beneficial if you could see every character in the operator selection screen, even if you already have slots for them, because the UI is pretty small when you want to toggle between different characters that you could spawn in as. And at the time, I was only working on one character. I didn't use the toggle to switch my operator yet, but I'm assuming other operator slots are going to get added in the future. Now, I also want to address some of the big issues with Endgame right now regarding exfilling, crashing, and disconnecting, which brings forth very similar issues to what we've experienced back with DMZ and Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 Zombies just over a year and a half ago. I'm crossing my fingers that some type of disconnect protection ends up getting introduced, hopefully by Season 1, especially with the bug where your teammate decides to exfil on his own and it just pulls everybody out with them. That shouldn't happen. It usually gives a player a prompt to exit without his party. But that's not even the most frustrating bug with Endgame right now. There's definitely instances where your exfil VTOL will end up leaving you behind, it'll spit you back out, or it'll just never come pick you up at all. Whereas even a basic crash could just cause you to lose your entire inventory, that's your combat rating, the weapons that you exfilled with. Well, I do find it pretty funny that if you die in a match of Endgame and your squad stays alive, you can just spawn back in within 30 seconds and you'll get everything back, which is cool compared to how unforgiving DMZ and Modern Warfare Zombies were if you did fully bleed out. But don't forget, if you and your entire squad do go down, that's gonna be it. The stakes are extra high when nobody has a self-revive because you'll all lose your entire combat rating. You'll be reset to 0 on that specific character, and of course, you'll have to start fresh with some new weapons. So first things first, when it comes to beginners within Endgame, it's worth noting that your combat rating can go up to 60. That is the max level you can achieve on one specific operator at a time. So as you progress from combat rating 0 to 60, you'll also be unlocking a ton of skills, which you could see in the menu that you can choose paths on. They're essentially skill trees that you can keep enhancing your operator with. So as you kill enemies and complete objectives, you'll be earning power, these blue looking orbs, which go towards the progression of your combat rating. The cool thing about Endgame is that everything is streamlined very well. There's no backpack, no inventory. When you exfil, it's important that you exfil yourself because of your combat rating, not because you have a backpack full of goodies. So every time you hit a new milestone, you simply select which upgrades you want next from 2 of the available skill trees, you interact with your D-pad, put it away, and you've now enhanced yourself. So a big goal during this preseason window and before some future bosses come out is to make sure you deck out as many operators as you can with as many skills and abilities that you can. It's worth mentioning though, when you hit combat rating 10, then 20, 30, and 45, you're going to get significant damage boosts, which in my opinion are absolutely necessary when entering some of the higher tier zones. These damage boosts get applied to any weapon that you're using and are separate from the individual skills that you're able to choose from. But apart from your skills and abilities for your actual character, I'm sure you're aware about the weapon rarity system. So it's obviously recommended that you get higher rarity weapons before moving into a tier 3 or 4 zone to take out some of those enemies, and you can find higher rarity weapons randomly through some of the rewards that will spawn in weapon cases. Now, depending on the tier zone that you're in, you'll actually see a higher rarity workbench once you clear out the command center, and keep in mind, as you do clear out the command center, you'll also be earning some power, which will go towards your combat rating. But in tier 3, you'll find purple benches, and in tier 4, you'll find orange workbenches. If another squad in the lobby opens that command center first, that weapon bench will be available for you to use freely without having to worry about any of the enemies. But if you're playing solo, you'll slowly have to work your combat rating up and only open up the command centers that you can handle. But if you're with the squad that can carry you, you could bring in a low rarity weapon while having a low combat rating and have them help you clear out the command center and instantly upgrade your weapon to either purple or orange. I also can't stress enough how the arrow launcher is the wonder weapon for Endgame. It's the only weapon, in my opinion, that you should probably be spawning in with, since you'll probably end up exfilling with an orange or exotic rarity weapon as your acquisition item that will also remain in your loadout. But as far as the weapon that I'm always going to be upgrading to orange rarity at these command centers, it's going to be the launcher. I mean, especially as you get those damage boosts with a higher combat rating, it'll take out a lot of the tougher enemy types, and especially the final boss, better than any other weapon in the game, at least right now during the launch window. But the way that objectives work in this mode are actually a lot easier to understand than DMZ and Modern Warfare 3 zombies. There's essentially in-game activities that are highlighted blue. These are some of the longer objectives that do reward you with a good amount of power, and then there's these green markers around the map, which are essentially side missions or contracts, similar to Warzone or, of course, the previous extraction modes that Call of Duty did. But do keep in mind, if you do too many objectives in a single match before exfilling, you may end up being targeted by the Guild Hunters. These Guild Hunters could consist of VTOL warships, even rhinos, and some of the toughest enemies on the map that can even pose a big threat to people that are, let's say, combat rating 60, the max, and those folks probably have orange rarity weapons, so you gotta be careful and precise with what objectives you want to do, and I would really recommend just doing as much as you can, but exfilling before the countdown hits like the 15-minute mark, because there's no need to really risk those Guild Hunters going after you and your entire squad, and then you guys possibly getting wiped to where you lose absolutely everything. Now, what's important is taking a look at the mini-map and seeing how much power you're going to be obtaining by completing a certain objective. Obviously, the higher tier zone that you're in means the more power you're going to be granted, giving you faster access to all the skills and a higher combat rating. I'd say in a solid like 2 to 3 matches, you could end up getting your combat rating up to, I want to say, somewhere in the 40s, which is just enough to really hold your own in the tier 4 zone, or let's say that final boss fight. I also feel like there's no better option on this list apart from the grappling hook, so that you can quickly just grapple onto a ledge and then wingsuit right off of it, as you're able to navigate very quickly around the map and do even more objectives because of that. But something really worth mentioning is that there's a really big XP farm in Endgame that I want to say is probably the craziest farm compared to any other mode that I can think of, and all it requires you to do is head over to the tier 3 zone and spawn in as much fear as you can. Fear are the types of zombies that could spawn in, and these are essentially the basic zombies, not the manglers, not the toxic ones, or anything like that. And what you could just do is simply train around on these hills and get as many kills as you can. Now, the cool thing is, Fear continuously respawn around these areas, so you could just do a big lap, kill a bunch of these zombies, and work your way towards the next set of hills. Or you could drive a good 2 minutes away, and the Fear will continuously spawn. I wouldn't go as far as tier 4, but you'll get an absolute crazy abundance of zombies in a lot of these areas here, as you'll see, and as you work your way up, you're going to see your weapon level go up tremendously. This is also huge when stacking with a double weapon XP token, and for those out there that, let's say, want to get those weapon prestige camos, which sometimes require you to hit level 250 with that individual weapon. And guess what? As you get these kills, they're also dropping power, so you can essentially simultaneously grind your combat rating, your weapon prestige, and of course your player level, eventually battle pass progression, just by farming some tier 3 zombies. While the cherry on top will be if you or your teammates also complete a ton of activities, preferably the more rewarding ones, so that you're absolutely flying through combat ratings and of course your weapon prestige level. Treyarch confirmed there's a 25% faster progression rate that they've implemented into the full launch of the game, whereas I've seen lots of complaints about the progression speed in multiplayer and zombies, so that's kind of strange. I'm guessing whatever they were referring to is fully implemented in Endgame, while it may just be buggy for other game modes, hence why people aren't having the best time leveling up weapons. But it all goes hand in hand. The faster you level up a weapon, the faster you could equip some great attachments through the gunsmith, which, when paired with legendary rarity, and then of course the damage boost by having a high combat rating, you're going to be one of the most powerful players in your lobby of Endgame. So if you're somebody not really looking to level up other weapons and you really just care about the combat rating, then yeah, keep running that launcher, farming tier 3 zombies to get some extra power when you want, while also absolutely burning through a bunch of side objectives and some of the activities while using this rocket launcher. So in summary, it really does suck when you do crash or disconnect from a match of Endgame, because you lose your entire combat rating and all the skills associated with the character you were playing as. So if you want to make sure you get right back into it and absolutely conquer this mode, especially to prepare for future updates, you want to make sure that you're bringing in the absolute wonder weapon, which is the arrow launcher, and you want to make sure that you upgrade that weapon's rarity, whether you slowly work your way up on solo, going from tiers 1 to 2 to then 3 and even 4, gaining a new combat combat rating along the way so that you could eventually breach a command center and upgrade that weapon. Or if you're playing co-op, you could have some folks carry you, and while doing activities and different side objectives, you're going to be getting a huge combat boost regardless, but you could also just burst your way into any of the command centers in Tier 4, get an instant orange rarity, and then from there, continuously farm zombie kills in the Tier 3 zone. You could go to Tier 4 if you want, but you get a big enough horde in Tier 3 to gain a bunch of power, but on top of that, you could just swap weapons to other ones that you're currently camo grinding, and you can absolutely farm levels faster than you can in multiplayer or zombies. Now, granted that the exfil in your match actually works, I'd also highly recommend, if prepared, doing the exfil in a Tier 3 zone. I mean, from there, you're going to get even more power for getting that done. It may be a little bit tougher to complete, but if you got some squad mates also decked out with you, you could probably breeze through this with that rocket launcher. But ladies and gentlemen, that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. I do consider this video a hybrid between a beginner's guide to even an ultimate guide, going over the fastest ways to level up your weapon and increase your combat rating. Well, I also do plan on making follow-up videos as this mode does get improved, because I can guarantee you there's a lot that we're about to learn over the next couple of seasons. But with that being said, really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.